In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 tips for maximizing your 401k contributions. And there are probably a mistake or 2 that you're making, so make sure that you watch the whole video. But before we do that, if this is your first time at our channel or you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button at the bottom. My name is Travis Sickle, Certified Financial Planner with Sickle Hunter Financial Advisors. So there are 2 types of 401ks that you need to be aware of. The traditional 401k, which is usually what we call just a 401k, which goes in pre-tax, gross tax deferred, and then in retirement comes out as ordinary income. That's your general 401k. And then there's the Roth 401k. So that works a lot like a Roth IRA, where it goes in after tax, gross tax deferred, and in retirement will come out tax-free. Now, the maximum contribution for these 401k plans is $19,000 for 2019. So that means you can put in $19,000 any way you want to split it up into the traditional and the Roth 401k. And if you're 50 or older, you can do an additional $6,000, bringing the total contribution to $25,000 for 2019. So that's the basics of how the 401k works. So let's get into tip number 1. Now, tip number 1 is probably the most boring of all the tips, but I'm going to go over it first. And it is the matching contribution, probably because you've heard about this before, that you need to get the free money. So make sure that you're maximizing your matching dollars. So if the match is 3%, you want to at least contribute 3%. Now check to make sure if you're doing the 401k on the traditional side versus the Roth side, make sure that you're still getting the match, because not all plans are going to have the matching contributions on the Roth side. Now, most do, but not all of them. So you want to double check that. So tip number 1 for maximizing your 401k contributions, get the match. So tip number 2 looks at the credits. Make sure that you're getting your credits, and the 401k could directly affect the credits that you qualify for. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples on different income limits so you can find out which credits that you might qualify for. Of course, there's a ton of different credits that I'm not going to go over all of them in this video, but let's go through a couple of examples. So the first one is the Savers Credit. And I've talked about a lot about the Savers Credit in previous videos, but let's go through a quick example. So let's say that your adjusted gross income is $42,500 and you've already contributed at least $4,000 into a retirement plan. So it's $2,000 for you, $2,000 for your spouse. That means at that amount, at $42,500 for married filing jointly, you would qualify for an $800 tax credit for the Savers Credit. Now, let's say that you also contributed into your Roth IRA or your Roth 401k, it doesn't matter. Let's say you contributed an additional $2,000 each into your Roth accounts. That would still keep your adjusted gross income at $42,500, giving you the credit of $800. Now, let's say that you looked at your credits before you started to save. So instead of taking that additional $2,000 and putting it into the Roth account, you put it into the 401k side, the traditional 401k side. That would bring your adjusted gross income down to $38,500. That's saving an additional $4,000. Now, the Savers Credit maxes out at $2,000 per person. So if you're at $38,500 for married filing jointly, that means you're going to get a 50% on that $2,000, a 50% credit. So that math works out to go from the original $800 credit that we talked about to $2,000 credit. That's a huge savings. So you have a tax liability of $2,000. This credit will eliminate that tax liability altogether. So that's a huge benefit. This is much better than just a deduction, which lowers your taxable income. This is actually going right after your taxes. That's what a credit is. Now let's talk about the child tax credit for a higher income earner. So the child tax credit begins to phase out if you're single at $200,000 and if you're married filing jointly at $400,000. But it's $2,000 per child. So here's how the math works. If you make $400,000 married filing jointly, for every $1,000 over $400,000, the credit gets reduced by $50. Now, each kid is $2,000 credit. So if you have 3 kids, that's $6,000 in credits. That actually means if you take out your calculator and do 6,000 divided by $50, that's $120,000. So unlike some other credits and deductions, the phase outs are much smaller. With a child tax credit, it matters how many kids you have. So if you have 3 kids, that's a $120,000 phase out. And I point this out because the Roth 401k and the Roth IRAs are usually looked at as better types of accounts. But if you can get these free dollars, why not? This is going to be much more advantageous, and especially if you're getting company matches and now you're getting credits. Now let's talk about this third one, the premium tax credit. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen really quickly so you can see what the premium tax credit calculator looks like. So just like we saw with the child tax credit, it also depends on how big your household is and your filing status. So the first thing you can do is you can check off. So I have 3 kids, and you can see here, you can choose your state. We're in Florida, and then you can scroll down a little bit further and then choose the income. It's gonna pull a different amount depending on how many people are in your household. So for this example, let's put a family of 5. The less money that you make, the more that you're going to qualify for the premium tax credit. But if you have a household of 5, so it's you, your spouse, 3 kids in the state of Florida, then the top of that threshold is $120,680. So if you make just over that and you start putting more money into your traditional 401k, then you're going to qualify for some premium tax credits. But pick your state, pick the household makeup, and then it's going to show you the range. So if you're looking at that range, you can kind of get an idea of how much you need to put into the 401k. If you're close to one of those ranges, into the traditional side of the 401k, then you can contribute into that side of the plan and lower your taxable income. And that allows you to qualify for these tax credits. So that was 3 different examples of very different income levels that you could qualify for different credits, just based on if you're close to those credits or qualifying for them. Putting more money into your traditional side of the 401k could help you get there. Now, again, if you're looking at this and you're not even close, well, maybe that's the case that says you should put more money onto the Roth side because you've already done all that you could for the traditional 401k side. But these are 3 separate credits that you can do to qualify and reduce your overall tax liability. So tip number 3, so those are 3 credits. Now we're on tip number 3. So tip number 3 has to deal with the deductions. So we just talked about the credits. Now we want to look at the deductions. Now, the deductions would look at traditional IRAs or things that are non-deductible like the Roth IRA. So other retirement plans as well. Now, those all have income limits as well. So you want to take a look at it. Now, of course, you can always look at the backdoor Roth IRA in order to get money into the Roth IRA. But if you have a traditional IRA, then that's going to make it a little bit more difficult and cause some more tax problems at the same time when you're doing that conversion. So if you don't have any traditional IRA dollars, then looking at a backdoor Roth might be really simple, and then you don't have to worry about the income threshold. But again, look back at your Roth IRA income limits to see if you're close, and it depends on your filing status. But if you're close, you put more money into your traditional 401k, it reduces a little bit. Then you can put more money into the Roth IRA, and maybe you like the investment options because the Roth IRA has more investment options than your 401k, your Roth 401k will at work. And tip number 4 is looking at other retirement plans. Now, if you have a retirement plan at work, such as a 401k, then you're probably watching this video. But if your spouse does not have a 401k, consider another retirement plan that can help you also reduce your total income to qualify for the credits and the other deductions, and to really just help you plan in general. So if you have a side business or your spouse doesn't have a retirement plan and maybe they're an independent contractor, you can look at SEPs or Simples. You can look at solo 401ks, and anybody can look at traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, and also looking at your health savings account. That's another great way to help reduce your overall tax liability and save for medical costs. So there's a lot of different plans out there that can help you reduce your overall taxable income beyond just a 401k. So if you have a 401k and your spouse does not, then that's a great opportunity to say, hey, is there another way I can save? And if you have a 401k at work, but you also have maybe independent contractor work or a side gig, then you can look at some of these other plans to also maximize your total contributions into all retirement plans to reduce it, to qualify for the credits and deductions that we talked about earlier in the video. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and leave your comments down at the bottom.